Hello everyone, this is a demonstration of Cover Agent from AlphaCodium. It's a multi-agentic AI system that generates code. Um, this Cover Agent will generate tests for you, and it's pretty cool. So let me show you an example. Um, what we're seeing here is the completed product. Basically, it's generated two tests for us. We have two tests, but what we're going to do is we're going to remove one of these tests, and then we're going to run the cover agent, and it's going to generate this automatically. First of all, what's going on? We have a function called myAssert, and myAssert can take a boolean. If it's true, it does nothing. If it's false, then it throws a big error. So it's an assertion failure, basically. And for a proper test coverage, we should test for it when it's true and test when it's false. But when it's false, we need to check that an exception got thrown. So this is what it should generate. So I'm going to get rid of this test. Okay, I'm going to save. And then I'm going to run cover agent. So what it's doing is it's calling ChatGPT. The current model is GPT 4.0. And it sends out the tests that we had, okay, and it sends out the code that we have, and it also does a coverage report to see the current set of tests, how many lines of the original code actually get run, and in the coverage report it figures out that only line 2 is getting run, but line 3 is never getting run. So then it determines it needs some kind of test to make sure that line 3 gets run. In order for that to happen, this must be true, not condition. So condition has to be false. So therefore, it realizes that it needs to call myAssert false. And then from there, it somehow figures out that it needs to wrap it in a try-catch block to check to make sure that it's true. So that must be where the AI is going on, because that's not quite obvious. Anyways, you can see kind of the log down here of what it's doing. Basically, it's generating code, and it's super cool. Anyways, that is Cover Agent. If you want to try it yourself, you can go to this Codium-AI Cover Agent. I did follow these installation instructions. Let's see, there were a couple of things I had to do a little differently. And by the way, today is June 18th, 2024. And for instead of pip install, I had to do the installation using Poetry, because up above it asks you to install Poetry. Poetry is a environment management system for Python. So then I did Poetry install, and I ran this. Here's the command that I actually ran, so you can see. I gave it my source path, my test file path, my coverage XML, which is run by the Cobertura tool that measures coverage, and then I gave it the command to run the test directory. I guess it didn't really use that, it did. And then how many times it should iterate. It's just pretty simple, so it only had to probably iterate one time. But you can see on the baseline, when it ran before generating this test, it just ran this test. It considered that 66% coverage. I suppose that's because there's 3 lines of code, and my existing test covered lines 1 and 2, but not line 3. So that's probably where it came up with 66%. And then it used the AI to figure out how to generate the second test, ran everything again, found it had 100% coverage, and that reached my desired coverage, so it finished. And this is super cool, but it's just the beginning of what's possible with this thing, because it's the full AlphaCodium thing is, let's see if I can show you this really cool products. So AlphaCodium, where's the paper? Delve into the research paper. Nope, not here. Discover in our blog. Is it here? This diagram. Okay, so check out this. This is the full vision of AlphaCodium. We only read part of it, I think, where it generates additional AI tests. So I think we just ran this part of it, but the full thing is you could give it no code and you could just give it some tests and a description of what the code should do. And then each of these boxes is an LLM agent that's got its own prompt. And first it reflects on the problem, then it reasons about the tests that you gave it, generates possible solutions, ranks the solutions, then it generates more tests, which is the part we just did. Then it tries to generate the actual code. So by the actual code, what I mean is like the production code, like there would be no body here. It would be able to just generate that by giving it some tests as input. And then it also generates more tests to address any corner cases that you forgot. And it iterates. And this iteration is the real magic of it, because with LLMs, they hallucinate. And this iteration ensures that it doesn't go off the rails. It's always constrained by the test. So it's really like test-driven development, where you don't have to do the development. The AI does it for you. You just have to you have to give it some tests, and not even all the tests. It can infer some of the tests and give you a final production code that passes not only its own tests, but the tests you gave it. Oh, and then one other really cool insight they came up with is that there's two kinds of tests, but the ones given by the end user, those are always a higher priority. So if going through this whole cycle, if it generates some tests that it can never get to pass, then it'll give itself a break and just throw that test out, because maybe it had made a mistake about that test earlier on. But it will never throw out the test that you, the end user, gave it. You could call those golden tests, perhaps, kind of like gold units from the old days of doing Mechanical Turk labeling, where you'd have some labeled items that you'd give to the labelers, and they'd have to label the same way as you, or else they'd be thrown out. Anyways, this is super cool. Can't wait to start using this more broadly.